Good evening. Thanks for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Shereen Bhan. The headlines we're tracking for you tonight. Global markets in a tailspin as fears over financial stocks and potential interest rate hikes spook investors. Wall Street sinks at opening bell. European stocks take a beating. Credit Suisse shares hit a record low after its Saudi backers rule out further financial assistance. Banks across Europe and the US are under pressure, including heavyweights like Citi, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs and Bank of America. Former RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan says Credit Suisse has unique problems. It may not pose a systemic threat, but warns there are many small and medium-sized banks in the US with issues similar to the Silicon Valley Bank. Also adds he does not expect the US Fed to add to the financial sector turmoil with significant rate hikes. The sharp fall in European stocks spooks Indian stock markets. Markets give up early gains. The Sensex down over 300 points. Financial stocks under pressure with the Nifty Bank falling 800 points from its intraday high. An Adani Group spokesperson tells CNBC-TV18 a special purpose vehicle controlled by Vinod Adani owns cement majors ACC and Ambuja. The statement puts to rest any speculation on Vinod Adani's relationship with Adani Group companies. India's trade deficit narrows in February to the lowest level in 18 months. Service exports rise 37%, signalling that India is likely to post a current account surplus in this quarter. Ola offers to replace the front fork arm of scooters owned by all its 2 lakh customers after multiple accidents and complaints on social media. The company's top brass says the number of incidents are too small to qualify for a recall, but also add that its press statement could have been worded better. The Bar Council allows foreign law firms and lawyers to practice international law and arbitration matters in India. The permission, however, will be on a basis of reciprocity. The Bar Council says the opening up will be regulated to ensure it's mutually beneficial. An American drone collides with a Russian fighter jet in the international airspace over the Black Sea. US claims Russian jet forced the drone to crash. Moscow denies the claim. Bumper crop supply glut leave Maharashtra's farmers staring at heavy losses. CNBC-TV18 travels to Nashik to find out how many farmers have chosen to destroy their produce. One of the coriander farmers tells us how he earned only 100 rupees on an investment of 20,000. Well, the big story this evening is the global market action, and it is a sea of red. Financial stocks are getting battered across Europe and the US. Adding to that, the fears of an imminent rate hike from central banks is roiling investor sentiment. Now, one of the main reasons for the fall that we're seeing across banking stocks today is Credit Suisse. Shares of the European banking major have hit a new low, this after its Saudi backers ruled out any further financial assistance. Investors are also digesting statements from the annual report of Credit Suisse, where the bank said it has found, and I quote, material weaknesses in its financial reporting processes for 2021 and 2022. Steve Leesman is here to explain what's hurting sentiment. Many thanks for joining us. Yes, all eyes now on the Fed and what it's likely to do, 25 or pause. The likelihood of 25 still fairly high, as Steve was pointing out. Renowned economist Nouriel Roubini, popularly known as Dr. Doom, believes the Credit Suisse crisis could be, and I quote, a Lehman moment for European banks and for the world. But former RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan doesn't believe the same. Speaking exclusively to CNBC-TV18, the former RBI Governor said Credit Suisse has a unique problem and it may not pose a systemic threat. However, he did warn that there are many smaller-sized banks like the Silicon Valley Bank in the US. He also believes that the US Fed may not hike rates significantly and add to the market turmoil. Listen in.
SVB is more systemic because the same problem exists across a number of small and medium-sized banks in the US, that they have splurged on deposits. This is something we pointed out at Jackson Hole in a paper, and that they have invested, and that's what's coming to light in long-term assets in a search for yield, and therefore are subject to a lot of duration risk. That's, I think, a common problem for a number of small and medium-sized banks. That's why it's a little more, there are a large number. It's not a problem for the money center banks in the US. In Europe, Credit Suisse is a large bank. Large banks, buy if they run into problems, are systemic because they have interconnections with everybody. But it's not that every other bank has the same problem that Credit Suisse has. The Fed is in a tough situation. The CPI report that came out yesterday is not a comfortable one. Core inflation in the US is still going strongly. Inflation has come down, but that was, in a sense, the easy part, the supply chains rectifying and so on. The tough part now comes bringing it down to the 2%, 2.5% that the Fed will feel comfortable with. If the Fed sees that the financial sector stabilizes, it may still go with a 25 basis point hike. I think 50 is off the table.
50 is off the table. That's the Raghuram Rajan view. 25 still a significant likelihood by the Fed. You can catch that full interview with the former RBI governor on the global economic uncertainty and the turmoil that we are seeing in the banking sector at 9:30 p.m. right here on CNBC TV18. Well, moving back home, Dalal Street also failed to hold on to its opening gains this after the fall in global markets. So we saw the Nifty and the Sensex cut off about 0.5%. Financial stocks taking it on the chin. The Nifty Bank ended 1% lower. HDFC, ICICI Bank were the biggest losers. BSE companies have raised a market cap of over 50,000 crore rupees today. Now, the Adani Group has had a mixed day in trade. An Adani Group spokesperson has told CNBC TV18 that a special purpose vehicle controlled by Vinod Adani owns cement majors ACC and Ambuja. Now, this statement puts to rest all speculation on Vinod Adani's relationship with the Adani Group companies. He is a related party. Vivek Iyer joins us now with all the details. Vivek.
Well, thank you for that. The Adani Group stocks continue to remain in focus after a morning context story published on Monday, 13th March, which reported that Ambuja Cements and ACC are owned not by the Adani Group, but by Vinod Adani-controlled entities. In fact, what we've done is we've gone through the entire disclosures made in the open offer document and have independently verified that for Ambuja Cement, that the open offer document was made by an entity controlled by Vinod Adani. The disclosure reads, the ultimate beneficial ownership of the acquirer, that is Endeavour Trade and Investment Limited Mauritius, is actually held by Vinod Shantilal Adani and Mrs. Ranjaben Vinod Adani. The chart on your screen actually indicates the multi-tiered SPV ownership structure of the group. An Adani Group spokesperson actually told CNBC TV18 that when you're talking about this particular Endeavour Trade and Investment Limited, controlled by Mr. Vinod Adani, the acquirer of ACC Limited as well as Ambuja Cements Limited, belongs to the Adani Group. This fact has been disclosed in our public offer document dated 19th August 2022. The point of concern on this is that the Adani Group had indicated in its response to Hindenburg's allegations that transactions with Vinod Adani entities did not qualify as related party transactions. And as per Indian laws, Adani Group's response on the non-disclosure of related party transactions with Vinod Adani Group entities said, and I quote, all transactions entered into us with entities who qualify as related party under Indian laws and accounting standards have been duly disclosed by us. Further, these have been carried out on arm's length in accordance with applicable laws. Vinod Adani does not hold any managerial position in any Adani-listed entities or their subsidiaries and has no role in their day-to-day affairs.
Vivek, many thanks for joining us. In fact, the CFO of the Adani Group had spoken to us on the 30th of January after the Hindenburg report was released. He had said that he never had any business meetings with Vinod Adani in the last 11 years of being at the conglomerate. Take a look.
I'm the senior most finance executive in Adani Group. I've been there for 11 years. In 11 years, I have not had a business or working meeting with Mr. Vinod Adani. The reason is very simple. He's not the executive in the business. And even I am not aware of how he manages his family offices or how XYZ manage their family office. It's completely separate. And many promoters in India have this. Their family offices are completely separate from their businesses. The same thing is here.
Well, that is the CFO of the Adani Group, and as per a statement of the Adani Group itself today, reiterating that it is Vinod Adani, the beneficial owner of the SPVs that control ACC and Ambuja. India's February trade data once again shows that the country is likely to post a current account surplus this quarter. February services exports are up 37%. Latha's here with the numbers. Latha, good news on the services front.
Yes, it may be banking gloom all over, but India's macros, especially on the external front, are looking very good after the announcement of the February trade data. You know, goods plus services, if you add the imports and deduct the exports, the deficit comes to as low as $2.83 billion. This is down from $9.5 billion in the same month, February of 2022. Actually, in 2023, if you take Jan and Feb also, the average goods plus services deficit comes to just $2 billion, whereas if you took the average of 2022 every month, the deficit was $13.7 billion. To that extent, it has come down, and that's largely because India's services exports are doing very well. For instance, in February itself, the services exports, the services trade surplus, exports minus imports, is standing at 14.6 billion, which is 76% higher than what it was in the same month last year. And that was the services surplus. If you only took services exports, they are up 37% from what they were in the previous February. This February, they stand at over $29 billion. The goods part is still a bigger deficit. The goods trade deficit has come in at $17.4 billion, but this is still lower than the $18.7 billion year ago February, and even last month it was 17.7, a little more. Actually, the entire goods trade deficit also in February is a good 30% lower than what it was averaging April to December 2022. So Jan and Feb data, basically trade goods plus services, is removing all concerns about a large current account deficit and therefore pressure on the rupee. The separate important landmark, services exports plus goods exports only for the first 11 months are going to cross $700 billion. Remember, the government's target is $750 billion for the full year. We look likely to reach it very comfortably.
Lata, many thanks for joining us. So good news coming in there on the macro front. A quick check of some of the other headlines tonight. Reliance Jio has hiked entry-level tariffs for the new postpaid plans, which remain cheaper than its rival Bharti. It's also introduced the cheapest available family postpaid plan at 696 rupees a month for a family of 4. A high-price family plan is also available for 996 for a family of 4, which is comparable to Bharti Airtel's plan at 999. After staying in limbo for the last many years, the Sahara Ponzi scheme is back in the spotlight. Sources tell us that the Home Minister Amit Shah is set to hold a meeting to resolve the investor issue. The government will discuss ways to try and provide relief to investors who claim they've lost their money. Sources add that over 1 lakh crore investors from Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Bihar, UP and West Bengal invested in the scheme. Onto a CNBC-TV18 exclusive, we learned from sources that the Max Financial deal to sell its promoter stake has hit a roadblock. The Aniljeet Singh-led promoter group wants to sell just 7% of its 11.45% stake. However, the interested PE players want the entire promoter holding. Ola has offered to replace the front fork arm of over 2 lakh electric scooters after multiple accidents and complaints came in from customers on social media. Now, speaking exclusively to CNBC-TV18, the company's top brass says that the number of incidents that have been reported are too small to qualify for a recall, but they are offering a free change of the front fork arm for all 2 lakh customers anyway. What explains this? Parikshit is standing by to give us some of the answers. Parikshit, you spoke with the management. What are they saying?
Yes, there are clear contradictions in the Ola Electric statement that they tweeted out yesterday. On one hand, they say that the front fork is structurally sound, there is nothing wrong with the vehicle. But in the same statement, they're saying that they want to strengthen the design even further and they want to give a free upgrade to their customers who may have any concerns or who may want to get the front fork replaced. So we did ask all these questions to the Ola management. They said that they've not gone in for a recall as the numbers are too small as far as the complaints are concerned. At the same time, they defended the structural safety of the vehicle. But yes, BVR Subbu, the board member of Ola Electric, did concede that yes, maybe their communication could have been worded better and has caused confusion. At the same time, we have learned from our sources that the Ministry of Road Transport, as early as 3 to 4 months back, had received a lot of complaints about safety issues with Ola scooters, including issues with the front fork. And they had forwarded these complaints to Ola Electric, asking them to give an explanation and also investigate this matter internally. For now, we've been told by Ola Electric they don't need to inform anyone, either the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers or the government. But considering this exercise could involve 2 lakh customers of Ola Electric, the government may now step in and may ask them for an explanation to give a sense to the government, to the Ministry of Road Transport, the scale of this exercise, because if it involves 2 lakh customers, it could be one of the highest recalls in Indian automobile history, and they also want to know what is the exact defect that is being rectified. So let's see how this story develops in the days to come.
The reality that we face today is in social media, you get mountains being made out of molehills. Now, in such circumstances, what do? You tell customers there is no problem, but if you still are not, still want to think, go ahead, change it. We are convinced, we are confident that the design of the product is fine. It meets all norms. Maybe the wording was of the missive by the community, by the company was, may have led to confusion. I don't know. But I think the intention of the management was this. It came up to the board, and the board was completely in support of this approach.
We are doing absolutely the right thing for the customer and in the interest of the consumer and in setting new benchmarks for the industry. So do leave it to us in terms of fulfilling our responsibilities of keeping the right stakeholders informed at the right time, and do not interpret this on our behalf.
Well, that is the Ola management and board speaking on the reason for a voluntary recall that they have offered to all 2 lakh customers. Time for us to head into a short break, but up next, bumper crops and a supply glut leave Maharashtra's farmers staring at heavy losses, many being forced to destroy their own produce. A special report from Nashik when we return.
Settle down. Oh yeah, that's it. I've been through the storm, I've been through the rain. I'm still here standing, unshackled the chain. You better buckle up, cause I set my sights. But this bad boy ain't leaving without a fight. Roll it hard and dark, cause there ain't no fire without a spark.
इंडसइंड बैंक सेविंग्स अकाउंट पे मिलता है अट्रैक्टिव इंटरेस्ट रेट, यानी हॉलिडे का मूड बन सकता है। यहाँ इलेक्ट्रिसिटी बिल भरना कहाँ याद रहेगा, इसीलिए ऑटो पे। एंड इन केस वाइफ का बर्थडे भूल गए तो अकाउंट नंबर याद दिला देगा। आपकी हर जरूरत और कन्वीनियंस के बारे में पहले से ही सोच के रखा है। सेविंग्स अकाउंट हो तो ऐसा। इंडसइंड बैंक।
Sarah, this is your space.
Play it your way.
Adani Group is now in the top 10 media groups in India. Growth because of our beliefs. Growth because news is sacred.
कल आज और कल में देश के हर पल में, कल आज और कल में देश के हर पल में, कभी परछाई बनके कभी विश्वास बनके, दिल में साहस का एहसास बनके, उम्मीदों को सच्चाई के रंग से सजाते हैं, मुश्किलें कोई हरदम साथ निभाते हैं। कल आज और कल में रहते हैं, देश के हर पल में रहते हैं, कल आज और कल में रहते हैं, देश के
1956 से आज तक LIC हर पल आपके साथ।
तेरा नाम गुजेगा तो उठेगा एक तूफान, हिलेगी जमीन, मचेगा घमासान, देखेंगे फिर गेम तेरी जिंदगी।
ये है शुरुआत तेरी, अब हर जुबान पे होगी बात तेरी। देखिए पहला टाटा विमेंस प्रीमियर लीग स्पोर्ट्स 18 और जियो सिनेमा पर।
The Bar Council of India has allowed foreign law firms and lawyers to practice international law and arbitration matters in India. However, the permission will be based on reciprocity. Ashmit is standing by with the details. Ashmit, this has been long pending. What's finally led to it? And what is the reaction?
Indeed, it has been a long time coming, and after years and years of debates and after keeping the industry locked out as far as foreign lawyers and foreign law firms are concerned, that is set to change. Bar Council says that as a part of going global, as a part of establishing India, as a part of the international arbitration hub that India is aspiring towards, India is aiming for, this is a step in that direction. But does it mean that you will see tomorrow a British or an American lawyer arguing against someone like a Hari Salve, Kapil Sibal or a Mukul Rohatgi? No, that is not going to happen. Here's the devil as far as the detail is concerned. The Bar Council of India came out with these rules and regulations, which in principle have thrown the doors open for foreign law firms and foreign lawyers to participate as a part of the Indian legal industry to practice here. However, there are three important takeaways in terms of restrictions that have been placed. Number one, reciprocity. Lawyers and law firms only from countries which permit Indian lawyers to practice in those countries, only from those countries will the lawyers be allowed to practice here in the country. First. Second, they will only be allowed to work in the non-litigious space. So that essentially means that they will not be allowed to argue before the courts, before tribunals, High Court, Supreme Court. The arguing bit is not happening. But what then will the foreign lawyers and law firms do? So the role so far that has been conceived by the Bar Council of India is restricted to matters of joint ventures, mergers, acquisitions, drafting of contracts, corporate litigation, corporate drafting of contracts. That's essentially the area. And international arbitration, that again is a focus area as far as Bar Council is concerned. The third is the foreign lawyers and law firms will have to necessarily register themselves with the Bar Council of India. And these, of course, come with a whole host of supplementary rules and regulations that these foreign lawyers and law firms will have to comply with. So the guardrails may have been put in place, but it does qualify as the Indian legal industry opening up its doors to foreign lawyers as well as foreign law.
Ashmit, many thanks for joining us. Thousands of farmers continue their 200-kilometre-long march from Nashik to Mumbai. The farmers are scheduled to reach Mumbai on the 20th. Farmers are demanding the restoration of forest land rights, fair prices for their produce, compensation for losses suffered on onions, among others. And it's not just Maharashtra's onion farmers who are protesting the sharp fall in prices. Vegetable and grain farmers have joined the march. While some are agitating for relief from the loss of crops due to unseasonal rains, others are seeking compensation for revenue loss due to bumper harvest. Santya Gora and Arundhati Ramanan bring you more.
Vasant Nayak of Pimpalgaon Niphani village in Maharashtra's Nashik district is desperate. He had planted cauliflower in December on 1 acre of 3-acre farm, spending over 80,000 rupees to bring the crop to harvest. But he has had to destroy the entire crop because cauliflower prices had crashed.
मैं मार्केट में गया, वो 40 पैसे 50 पैसे वो मंगवाया, इसलिए मेरे को परवड़ेगा नहीं मूंगफली लगाने का, वो खेत खाली करने का, इसीलिए मैंने ट्रैक्टर मंगवाया और सब रोटर कर दिया.
A few kilometers away, Satan Borke is facing a similar problem with his coriander crop. He made just 100 rupees for his entire crop, on which he had spent 20,000 rupees.
मेरे को 20,000 खर्च आया. अभी मार्केट में गया, 1600 रुपये रहेगा आएगा, त्याच्यात ट्रैक्टर भाड़ा 1500 गया, खाली कुछ नहीं रहेगा, 100 रुपये रहेगा.
It's not just cauliflower and coriander farmers who have this problem. Many farmers who sowed onion, maize, fenugreek and tomatoes are staring at a situation where transportation costs are higher than the price they got for their crop, all because they've had a bumper crop this year. And the supply glut has depressed prices to such an extent that it's easier and cheaper to destroy the crop in the fields itself.
बैंगन का बाजार नहीं, टमाटर का बाजार नहीं, गोभी का बाजार नहीं, पत्ता गोभी बाजार नहीं, मिर्ची बाजार नहीं।
तो आपने बेचा कि क्या फेंका?
बेचा नहीं, खाली देखा है।
प्याज और मक्का है, उसको भी मार्केट नहीं मिल रहा अभी, सब इधर है। बाकी वो खर्चा ज़्यादा आता है और बचा कुछ नहीं मिलता।
आपके शायद मेथी की खेती हम लोग देख रहे थे, तो उसमें आप मुझे बता सके कि क्या स्थिति है, कितने पैसे मिल रहे हैं उसके?
मेथी को कुछ रेट नहीं, भाव नहीं, 1 रुपया किलो बिक रहा है। 1 रुपये मतलब उसका बीज है 103 रुपये, 102 रुपये, 100 रुपये किलो। वो अपना जब मार्केट में लेके थे सैकड़े को, अभी वो मतलब मंडी में ले ही नहीं रहे कोई, मतलब रेट ही नहीं उसको, इसलिए वो खेत पे ही छोड़ दिया।
The government does have a support mechanism that kicks in when prices crash, but that support is restricted to a specific list of crops. Even in those cases, farmers say the support is often a day late and $1 short. They want more special compensation packages like the one the state has announced for onion farmers.
आपण आता डायरेक्ट 300 रुपये करतोय.
We will provide a compensation of rupees 300 per quintal for onions.
जे काही उपाययोजना आहेत, आता कांदा खरेदी देखील सुरू झालेला आहे.
Even here, farmers claim the compensation is a drop in the ocean, given that the cost of production is at least 15 rupees per kg or 1,500 rupees per quintal. They add that they are frustrated that the government has not given a thought to farmers who grow vegetables like cauliflower, tomatoes, coriander and fenugreek.
Farmers say that due to the inadequate presence of reasonably priced cold storages and processing units, they have a harsh choice. They can either sell their produce at throwaway prices or destroy it. They add that the government intervenes only towards the end stages, and often this intervention is too late to make a meaningful difference. Also, the government does not inform them about the possibility of bumper production of a crop in advance, and that lack of knowledge prevents them from making choices that could mitigate that scenario, like choosing to plant an alternate crop. In Nashik, with camera person Ajay Dabolkar, this is Santya for CNBC-TV18.
And there's more news from Maharashtra. The state government employees are on an indefinite strike demanding the restoration of the old pension scheme. The strike has reportedly impacted operations in state-run hospitals, educational institutes and government offices. Chief Minister Shinde has announced a panel to look into their demands. The Adani controversy continues to rock Parliament. Leaders from 18 opposition parties were stopped by the police at Vijay Chowk as they took a protest march from Parliament to the Enforcement Directorate headquarters. Parties had planned to submit a memorandum seeking a detailed probe into the Adani Group over the Hindenburg report. Tensions between US and Russia rise after an American drone collided with a Russian fighter jet in the international airspace over the Black Sea. America claims the Russian jet forced the drone to crash, but Moscow denies the claim. A company linked to the Abu Dhabi royal family invests in Chinese tech giant ByteDance, which owns TikTok. The investments value ByteDance at $220 billion, which is below the $300 billion valuation set for a recent share buyback. And that is it on this edition of India Business Hour. Thanks very much for watching. Do stay tuned to CNBC-TV18. The news continues, and we will, of course, be tracking the global market action live here on CNBC-TV18. So stay tuned. We're back in a moment.